welcome to What's Happening at Work podcast. I'm your host, Joyce Didison, and today we're going to talk about the hidden biological cost of workplace load, the challenges we face. This is such an important conversation because many high performers are overwhelmed, they are dysregulated, they are chronically stressed, and some are unwell, and many do not understand why. Sue McKinley is our guest today. She's the founder of Wellness System Roadmap. Sue has spent over 20 years as a management consultant with executives in organizations, helping to navigate large-scale transformational change. She has been there, and now her work is focused on systems, capacity, friction, transition. Those were things that she knew in her former life. She has taken that and built this brand new system. After her youngest son developed a serious illness, she has moved to take what she's learned in corporate to help us understand why we're struggling with some of the symptoms we're having at work today. So welcome, Sue, to What's Happening at Work podcast.
Thank you so much, Joyce. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Excellent. So, Sue, tell us what you did before and how you come to be doing the work you're doing and what you've seen and what you're seeing. Give us a little insight into that journey.
Yeah, thank you. So I was a consultant. My degree was computer science, and I went straight into consulting and did that for, I've done that off and on my whole career. Lived overseas twice, and as you said in the intro, led large-scale transformational changes by, helping organizations be different in the future by doing things different now. But everything changed for me when my son got sick. When he was 3 years old, he woke up one morning and I went in to go get him, and his little hips were bucking off the bed, and he had tics, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. His whole body was moving, and I had never seen anything like it. It was terrifying. He was a previously seemingly very healthy little 3-year-old boy. So we took him to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician was also very alarmed, had never seen anything like that herself, and ran all the tests. The tests did not come back showing anything, which is a very common story. But, that really started the journey, trying to find people that could help. And so we, saw all the specialists on both coasts. We tried everything. Eventually, I did what the moms of the kids who were improving did. I did find a community, and it led me down the path of holistic modalities. And that then witnessing what the power of making changes in his environment, in his conditions, and using, like I said, these holistic modalities was life-changing for him. So much so that for a period of time, I went back to school, became a licensed practitioner myself as a homeopath, and started seeing clients that also, so I specialized in kids that had these same conditions. And then my consulting brain kicked back in and said, wait a second, I'm seeing patterns. I am seeing things that contribute meaningfully to a body's ability to heal and to recover health. And so that's when I started bringing these two worlds back together and bringing wellness and the concept of wellness to individuals, yes, but also back into organizations, because, the transition here is that these modern chronic illnesses are on the rise. People are sick, and people aren't a little sick. People are a lot sick. And sometimes it's explained by labs, and many times it is not. And we have whole workforces that are compromised, whether it's because of absenteeism or presenteeism. And, I'm sure we'll get into all this, but the idea is that we as human beings, we are not segmented into the person we are at home and the person we bring into work. We're experiencing these increasing rates of things, and it's affecting populations.
Yes, it is. I'm listening to what you're saying, and it tells a story that is so common, something we're hearing a lot. These strange illnesses, these strange diseases impacting people, the tests coming back, nothing is wrong with you. We can't see anything wrong with you, but it's a whole system problem. And we need to change everything. So tell us how that moved into what you're doing right now with your system model, what it is, and how you're using it to help people.
Right. So one of the things that I have seen over these past years, and this was 15 years ago when my son developed this condition. And I've since seen, as I said, so many cases of this. What I'm seeing over and over again is that we are all exposed to more load today than our bodies are designed to handle.
Yes.
And it's right. So it's the load of the stress. So in all the ways, maybe we're a caregiver, maybe it's work stress, maybe it's stress in, financial stress, all the different kinds of stress that people experience. It's the load that comes to us through ultra processed food or through sitting more than standing and not getting outside time, and all the different ways. And there, it is well documented, and I can share resources, but the idea is that our bodies respond in biologically predictable ways to this load. Our body experiences these loads, these sources of loads, as a threat. And so we go into, it's the nervous system, and we go into sympathetic rather than parasympathetic mode. And that keeps us activated rather than in the mode where we're able to rest and digest and repair. So the load is greater and our ability to accommodate it is reduced. And it's that combination over time that accumulates for people, and it results in what I call signals from the system that, we experience them maybe as symptoms, but they really are signals of overload. And mine go in one direction based on my susceptibility, right? My genetic inherited susceptibilities. Yours go in another. My son's went in his own way, right? The direction of the symptoms varies, but but the commonality here is that they are all functions of too much load for too long on our bodies.
I love that you're talking about that, because my 8th book is coming out in next month. And this is one of the things I talk about is rebuilding the anchor, build your anchors, because we spend everything we do. I show resilience as a currency in life, and everything we do take from that. And we take from that well. If you have a well, you're going to fill it up. Like if it stopped producing water, then you need a new well. But we seem to think that our bodies and our nervous system can take whatever we put on it. And I love that you're sharing that it's not so. So what is the system you use? How do you help us to offload?
Yeah, right. So everybody's load bucket, the size of load, how much load we can each accommodate is different. That's just a genetic, what we're born with. And then everybody's load inventory is specific to us individually as well. And the factors that increase our own capacity to deal with the load. So I reduce it down to a really simple formula, which is increase capacity and then rebalance the system. And if we work those 3 levers over time, by doing so, the body has less of a need to give off these signals, and symptoms can just seem to lift. And I've seen it too many times to not feel absolutely committed and convinced that it's a really very simple equation. So decrease load means things like fewer environmental toxins and less ultra processed food and and more. Increasing capacity means things like get outside time every day, drink sufficient water, go to bed at a reasonably consistent time frame so that we're getting good restorative rest. And then excuse me, rebalance. There's a number of tools that can be brought into play here, whether they're nervous system tools or holistic modalities like acupuncture, acupressure, homeopathy, and more.
Okay. So what we're doing now, we're looking at the physical system, understanding our body as a system, that everything is connected, everything is integrated, and there is a signal that will be sent when one area is off. Like it's not just my hand. My hand is part of the whole nervous system. So if my hands are hurting, I should be asking, what have I done differently? How have I been sitting? Why am I getting enough stretches? And it's so, I am a believer. I know what you're doing, and that's why we're talking. Yeah. And what is the place of this conversation in the workplace? And I think that is where the crux happen. Because I teach workplace wellness, I teach resilience as a currency for work and life. But a lot of people don't get it. They don't understand because it's, we're so much about the visual, what I can see. If I can't see it, then it's not there. But the reality is our lives and our society have changed and we're seeing the repercussions of that. So we need to start paying attention to that 90% beneath this, what's going on. So when your hand is hurting, you ask yourself, you don't just go and take a pain medication. You start to look, am I getting enough stretches? Am I sitting properly? Am I getting enough fresh air? Am I breathing when am I getting enough air in my lungs? And I think that's where we have lost our roadmap, bringing us back to that system.
Yes.
So tell me about what happens when people are always responding and always adapting and always processing. How do we get them to stop in the workplace, wherever they are, and say, yes, it's time to start paying attention to the system?
Yeah, I think it's so important because we're working with multiple systems at the same time. We're working on multiple levels, right? Because we are all individuals and we bring our individual selves into the workplace with whatever we have available to us that day. And work so we all have things that are creating load for us in our daily life, and that is important. And when we come into the work setting, we know that the work has changed. And for so many people, there are expectations that create further stress in the workplace. So it's the things like the understood but maybe not documented expectation of a response time to an email within 2 hours, regardless of when it's sent, or the shadow organization that people experience, but isn't, really how the work is meant to be done. But we know we have to get approvals from these people or socialize the idea in a certain way, or in some cases, environmental toxins in the workplace environment. So the workplace can play a huge role, and workplaces are also experiencing the cumulative effect of the workforce of individuals who have sub-optimized health. So, the other way that organizations are experiencing this is, yes, workforce effectiveness and levels of absenteeism and presenteeism, and also rising costs of healthcare. Because we know that organizations are watching these costs rise and they're watching the need to pass on these higher rates to individuals for their own healthcare. So organizations are experiencing a version of this, and I believe have a role to play in helping people improve their own health status, both individually and then collectively.
I agree with you. And many organizations have responded by creating workplace wellness programs. And however, many of these workplace wellness programs have very little uptake. They're not producing, they're not seeing the ROI on the millions of dollars we spend on workplace wellness. We're not seeing a consistent ROI because mental health has skyrocketed. And the cost, before the cost would be for people who are sick and so forth. But now with mental health, it's so unpredictable. You don't know when they will come back and how long they're going to come back for and what stage they're going to be. And some people have undiagnosed mental health issues and they're in the workplace and they cause a lot of conflict, a lot of friction. They don't get work done. They're just they take forever to get things done. They slow down others. They create that toxic energy, frustrate others, and some are leaders. So the reality is some are even the leaders in the organization that are just absolutely beyond themselves, their inability to take a responsibility or to be accountable for anything. And I talk about them in my book. I talk about the soft edge leader and the ego-driven leader, and they both create very unhealthy work environments. And the employees are absorbing that, right? That load, the employees, you come into work and employees are telling me, Joyce, I spend 10 minutes in my car crying, or 10 minutes in my car just trying to give myself positive affirmations to get out of my car to actually come into work. I cry when I leave work. It should not be so, right? These are the emotional load that employees are carrying.
It's huge.
And one of the things I talk about in my book is building the 7 anchor streams, resilience anchor streams that will sustain you through these very turbulent times, because as cutbacks happen, as there's need to do more with less, we're seeing more and more of these challenges in the workplace. So tell us a little bit about your system. What exactly is it? How does one tap into it? What does it look like? What would someone get starting from it? Let me not ask you all the questions one time. So start out. What does the system look like and how can someone tap into it?
Right. So my organization is called Wellness System Roadmap. So, and the idea is that systems are involved in creating these loads for us. When things happen at scale, we have to look past the individual. It isn't just random bad luck happening millions of times to people. It's the result of these conditions that we're living in. And so, I mentioned the load, reduce load, increase capacity, and rebalance. And that's at the individual level. And it's also at the systemic level. So when we're looking at organizations, it's the same equation. It's reduce load, increase capacity, and rebalance. Now, the levers that we're working with are different. So in an organization, when we're talking about reducing load, it's before we get into that plan, the playbook is really simple. It's first you have to audit where your load is coming from, because where it's coming from in one organization is very different. You just gave the example, a toxic boss. Well, there might be toxic leadership values that are in things that are valued in one organization versus another. So that might be where most of the load comes from for people, or the unrealistic expectations where people are working 12, 14-hour days relentlessly without any recovery built in. Or in another building, in another environment, there might be truly a toxic environmental load. And I don't want to move past that. It's really easy to go right to the emotional stress and strain, which is very real. But there can be real environmental toxins that people are exposed to in organizations as well. So first you have to know, where is your load coming from for your organization? And I do have some tools, some inventories that are used to help identify the load for that organization. And then we look at building in recovery. So again, this is the playbook to get to reduce load, increase capacity, and rebalance. Organizations, many, fail to appreciate that recovery, human biology requires recovery. To be high performance, we have to, yes, allow for that stress and strain to happen. We have to hit that deadline. We have to launch that project. We have to, there can be periods of great intensity, but it has to be followed by recovery. Human biology was not designed to have sustained stress without that recovery. Our nervous system hasn't changed in, these many, many years. So building in that recovery, not as a perk, but as a requirement to be high performance. And that means truly appreciating that, it's one thing to say it. We see this all the time, that organizations will say, we value people taking their vacation and having their lives and taking their time off. But in reality, they're still expected to attend that meeting or answer that email, or, maybe there's actually a side eye when somebody leaves at 5 o'clock after they've done something. So intentionally building in that recovery is crucial for organizations, and really appreciating that it's a contributor to high performance. So kind of reframing that. And then the third step is you have to change what the environment rewards, because as we know, this change, what we measure informally and formally, is what drives behaviors. So if organizations are talking the talk but not walking the walk in deeply felt ways, it isn't going to, no change is going to happen. So we have, that's the playbook is at the organizational level, is really understanding the factors that are contributing to stress at the organizational level, and that are contributing to load for the organization, and then reworking those. And then it's the exact same go forward. It's okay, now that we understand the load, we have to reduce the load in the organization. And this does not mean wholesale changes. It's entirely possible that some relatively minor changes can be very impactful to the organization. This doesn't have to be an overhaul. It has to be targeted, it has to be specific, and it has to be high value items. But change is possible without wholesale changing the organization.
It's interesting, as you talk about that, I'm just thinking about the work we do. So we work specifically in organizations, and our overall framework is the wellness improvement system, which is a 9-dimensional model. And we teach that you need to be spiritually, socially, emotionally, occupationally, intellectually, environmentally, financially, and physically well, and teach how to do that. Now, not everybody is at the same place, but wellness means something else. But once you measure these 9 dimensions, it provides you with a resilience index report that shows you what the variables are, and it looks at the whole system as well as the structure, right? The environment. And people get a resilience index report that shows them where they need to do the work and what needs to happen. And organizations are really appreciating that, because now we can see what's happening in the organization, where the challenges are before they become the signals, before they become the burnout, before they become the mental health strain breakdown, or before they become the failing leadership that's all across the news and creating such havoc for the organization's reputation. But as we come to the end of our conversation, as we're wrapping up, a 20-minute conversation, I wanted to ask you, if someone is listening right now and they wanted to tap into your system without being complex, how would they go about doing that?
Well, so people can reach out to me at sue@wellnesssystemroadmap.com. So that's my email address. Or check out my website. I do offer a personal load inventory. So not at the organizational level, but the individual level at wellnesssystemroadmap.com/load. And it's a micro tool that people can use to understand where their individual load might be coming from.
That's a great idea and a great resource that our lessons can. And I'll also add it into our community. As I said, we have a resilience community where people can get access to these resources and be able to find a lot of these things are in one place so they can tap into them, because we have become a commodity in our society, right? A lot of big organizations, billion-dollar organizations have become so preying on us as humans. We become a commodity. We come to their website, we come to their this, we come to their platform, and now they can commoditize us. And all of that, we're losing resilience, we're losing our capacity, we're diminishing in terms of our resilience anchors. And all of these things are so important to bring them into this one place where people can say, okay, I am taking my life back. I am taking my life back. I'm taking my health back. So it was such a great conversation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for creating your system and creating a way for people to identify the load, because we are all doing it from different perspectives, and there are different modalities that work for different people. Some people would like my more robust system. Somebody would like yours. Somebody would like the other ones that's coming up. So if you are following us here on What's Happening at Work podcast, certainly join the community, get access to these resources, check out Sue. Her link will also be in the community, and let's get well together, because wellness is a system. Sue, any last words?
I just want to say how much I enjoy and appreciate your work, Joyce. It's brilliant. And I think that the ability to look at things in the 9 boxes, the model that you've established and built, is wonderful. It really starts by understanding our starting point and by being honest. And that's the starting point for going forward. And, I guess that ties into the message that I would give. And that is, there is reason to be hopeful. I do believe this is our problem to solve. And, people are getting sick, too many people. And I think that, there's really an awareness at the organizational level of wellness as a strategic priority I think that's where things have to go, because too many people are too sick. But, we're here, it's my goal to help. And I know this is why we're having this conversation, and I love having this conversation with you, Joyce. It's my goal to make it feel inevitable that it's a priority more broadly, and that getting people healthy, not just the absence of illness, but actual health, that's different. So having health is, I'm optimistic. I believe there are tools to go forward. We understand our starting point in a way we didn't before. And so I would just leave with a message of hope for people that there's a path forward.
Absolutely. This is why I'm building the community, the resilience community, because there are people like you who are putting their hearts out there and building stuff. And I think we need to have our own place where we can speak more deeply on this. And the podcast is one way to tell people and bring them back to the community. If you want to see more of Sue's tools in action and more interviews and behind the scenes, join us in the community, because that's what it is for. It's opportunities for us. We are starting book readings on July 31st. I'm adding pieces as we go because we need to start learning how to be a healthy society again. We've lost health. Even the concept of health we've lost. And
Yes.
and I believe that we can build it back. I would not do this work if I didn't think we can, right? And you've seen evidence in your son's life. I've seen evidence in my life. I was born with only one functioning kidney. I know that the body can heal itself. I have used all of those modalities. I know they work. I am like I am a result. I know they work. All the doctors give you is a prescription because that's what they have. They can give you drugs. That's what they know. That's what they've been trained to do. Drugs are good when you have an accident, when you're bleeding. But after that, the body needs a different type of environment and strategy to heal itself because it can heal itself.
Yes.
And we just need to have the right environment, the right community to encourage ourselves and to build back our health and our well-being. So thank you all for watching What's Happening at Work podcast. Thank you so much, Sue, for being here, and check out the links. Join us in the community. I'll be inviting Sue in to share more thoughts. We'll have some one-on-one and share more examples of how we can try and use these tools so that we can become better at what we do. Sue, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joyce.